Hi, everybody. Happy day after the Super Bowl. As I'm filming this, the snow is falling, and we're getting ready for the game. Although a handful of friends that we were going to have over have decided not to come because of the bad weather. But I hope you all enjoyed the game. I have to be honest, as I'm sitting here doing this, I'm a little concerned about the lack of participation in last week's discussion. And so far, there are only 3 written assignments submitted. So hopefully that will, pick up by 6 o'clock with game time at 6:30. The topic this week I called legal stuff, a variety of issues that you will be reading about: copyright, libel, transparency. One of the reasons why I picked this textbook is because this chapter is the second chapter in the textbook. Quite often, actually, in just about any public relations textbook that I've used over the years, the discussion of legal considerations was always the last chapter or maybe the second to last chapter. And it never made any sense to me because I feel that it's important that, you understand the rules of the road before you sit down and, start to write press releases and feature releases and, content for social media. So again, that's the topic today. There are 3 points that I think I want to make, and I'm going to try to make them as briefly as I can. The first is you're going to, hear about what has become kind of a buzzword, and that's transparency. We used to call it telling the truth, but now it's called transparency. But the concept is the same, that when faced with a situation where the truth needs to be told, even when the truth is going to hurt, it is a far better long-term strategy to tell the truth. Not always easy to do. Not always to convince senior management that telling the truth is the right thing to do. Not always easy to convince the legal department that just talking about what happened is better than trying to fiddle and diddle and fudge. Because what happens, as we all know in the long run, is that it gets out. An enterprising reporter finds out, an employee who's upset that the truth wasn't told talks to a reporter, and it gets out. I've been fortunate that over the course of my career, the few times that I was faced with a situation where things were a little dicey, I worked for CEOs who I was able to go to and say, look, we just got to come clean here. And they agreed with me. A lot of, my other colleagues in the profession were not so lucky. And, if we were in the classroom, I'd be able to tell you, a couple of stories of situations that I was faced with where the CEO said, tell the truth, including, the CEO that I referenced last week when I worked for, Enel Green Power, Tony Volpe. We were faced with a situation where a wind turbine fell over. It didn't just stop working. It didn't just break on itself. It actually fell out of the ground. And certainly a response could have been, well, just say as much as you have to, and we'll see if we can get through it. But Tony was excellent, and he said to me, we're going to be transparent. We're just going to tell everybody what happened. And if I had the time, I would tell you that story, but I don't have the time, so I can't. So the first point is be transparent, be truthful. I talked about in the last video as well that the Public Relations Department is considered the conscience of an organization. This is where the responsibility of being the conscience of the organization comes in. That it's the PR people who have to say, you know what, that's not the right thing to do. This is what we need to say. This is what we need to do. It's in the best interest of our organization, our employees, our constituents, the vendors, our customers, whoever. it's in their best interest and our best interest if we tell the truth. So transparency, huge. You're also going to be reading about libel. You're going to be reading about copyright laws, all very important concepts that you need to understand before you start writing things. So you won't tumble into saying things that you probably shouldn't say. And the third point that I want to make is what I'm seeing as a bit of a shift very, very recently in the response from organizations to negative publicity. For a long time, there was always the cliche, well, negative publicity is better than no publicity. And maybe companies would let things slide when things were said about them that maybe weren't entirely correct. Or maybe they threatened a lawsuit. Or maybe they, mounted a modest PR campaign to correct the record. What we're seeing right now as a result of the national election is something much more aggressive than we have seen in the past. Not going to get into the politics of it, but I'm sure you are aware that allegations were made about the companies that provided the voting machines, Dominion, and I don't remember the name of the other company. Allegations that they were, flipping votes from one candidate to another in the wee hours of the morning, et cetera, et cetera. And Dominion in particular has come out swinging. They have filed several lawsuits now, claiming libel, claiming malice, and not just for a paltry couple of bucks. 1.3 billion seems to be the number that they are using. And in addition to the people that they have already filed lawsuits against, they have sent formal legal notifications to a number of other individuals and news organizations saying that they intend to take action against them and telling them that they need to hold on to any records that they have in relation to this particular incident. This is one of the reasons why you saw Fox, you saw AON in particular, run fairly extended 2.5 minute, maybe 3 minute corrections several times over the course of a day, saying that they had no evidence. They could find no evidence that Dominion, for example, flipped votes. They could find no evidence of a conspiracy between Dominion and the president of Venezuela. And what was kind of curious about this was that they mentioned, Hugo Chavez as the president of Venezuela, and he's been dead for a number of years now. So just a little interesting sidelight, I guess. But it's interesting that they have come out swinging, and maybe they might not have so much in the past. I think the other thing that's interesting, and this may have to do with the gravity of the situation, but if you notice with all the companies that are making COVID vaccines, no one is saying, mine is better than yours. No one is making claims that sometimes you see, about toothpaste, preferred by 4 out of 5 dentists or whatever. The COVID vaccines that have been produced, have somewhat different qualities. But no one is claiming that their quality is better than another quality. And while that may be related to the current health situation, it's also kind of refreshing to see that in an area where, there shouldn't be a lot of competition in the healthcare area, claiming one product is better than another. It's nice to see that, and maybe that's a harbinger of things to come. But please, get into Chapter 2. A lot of important concepts there that you need to be aware of. Once again, there is a video for you to watch. There is a discussion for you to participate in, and there's also a written assignment. Everything is due by Sunday at 6 o'clock. Next Sunday is Valentine's Day. So if that means something to you, You may want to get your work done before Valentine's Day, but that's your thing. I know I have to get my work done by Valentine's Day for sure. I have a wife, a daughter, and a granddaughter, so I'm going to have to be paying attention to other things next Sunday. So I hope you have a great week. Please enjoy this week's topic. As always, if you have any questions, please email me, or if it is a question of general interest, please post it on the question section on the discussion boards. Those of you who participated in the discussion this week have noticed that I do read. Usually in the morning sometime is when I get on. So if you post a question on that discussion board, you can expect an answer in general by the next morning. So enjoy your week, and we will talk to you next Monday morning.